everybody, my name is Mars. You can call me MG if you'd like, and today is December 31st, which means tomorrow is the start of the new year. I'm so excited. I have such a good feeling about the new year. Let's hope it actually pans out. But I'm here today to specifically start off the year great in terms of reading. So I'll be doing a scavenger hunt to pick the first book that I will read in 2025. I did this last year and had such a great time that I figured, why not do it again? And I will leave a link in the description to Ellen Catherine. She is the creator whose questions I'm using for this scavenger hunt. She does the scavenger hunt finds my next read type of video fairly often on her channel. She also makes a lot of other great content. I love her vlogs. They're just so good. So definitely check her out if you're interested. Like I said, I took these questions from her. She doesn't leave a list of questions in the chat box, or the description box, that's what I meant to say. So I just had to write them down as I was listening. Hopefully I got them all and I didn't mix anything up, but if there are any errors, that's on me. I did pick a book to start off with, just so I'm not reading the question and running to get the first one. I just figured it would make things a little bit easier. So the book to start off with is a book with a cover that you love. And if you've been around my channel for any amount of time, these past couple of weeks, I have been talking nonstop about how much I love the cover for Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco. I got this at a library book sale in November and have not shut up about it because it's so beautiful. I just think it's stunning, and I love it so much more than the original cover for this series, this book. I am not a huge fan of books with people on the covers, and I think this is such an upgrade. So, in order to find our next book, I have to find a book with a similar cover. So, maybe something with florals on it, or a big insect, because we have a giant butterfly, maybe something with a weapon down the middle, big text right across the middle. I am gonna go look at my shelves and find something. Okay, so I am not quite sure this cover is exactly like the one we're going for, so let's just compare the two. So we have Stalking Jack the Ripper, as I've shown, and the book that I have gone with is Dreadful Young Ladies and Other Stories by Kelly Barnhill. The vibes are there, so it has the big insect in the middle. It's a dragonfly instead of a butterfly, but it's still a big insect. And then I saw this, and the knife dagger thing here is kind of replacing the body of the butterfly. That was my computer making a weird sound. We're just gonna move past it. But on this cover, it has the back of a girl's head and a really long braid that's replacing the body of the dragonfly. So I think they fit the same vibe, even if they're not exactly the same. I think it works. So this is the next book in our chain. The next question is to turn to page 50 and then find a book with a word from the first line of that page in the title. So here we go. Page 50. Ooh, okay, there we go. So it says, in the grate and mounded over the sink, they poured across the... The fact that nothing is coming to mind is terrifying. I might have to continue on to the next line, maybe? So the next line is, floor, particularly near the windows. Window might be in a title? They seemed to prefer light. Ooh, okay, light. Actually, something does immediately come to mind. So let me go grab that. Okay, for the word light in the title, I have gone with A Light in the Attic by Shel Silverstein. This is a collection of poems. I love Shel Silverstein so much. I have his other poetry collections too, and they just make me so happy, but light is in the title. The next step is to find a book with opposite tropes. Okay. By the way, you are propped up on my laptop so that I can see the questions above while I'm filming. Tropes. This doesn't really have tropes. I mean, it's a poetry collection, so I guess I'll go with a regular fiction book as the opposite. This is a children's book, So, an adult fiction book? Um, yeah. I'll see what I can do about that. Alright. In the end, I have gone with the opposite of a Shel Silverstein poetry collection as being Desperation by Stephen King. It's adult, it is fiction instead of poetry, it's horror instead of being like lighthearted and fun. This feels pretty opposite to A Light in the Attic. So now we have to find a book with the reverse page count of this book. So she's pretty chunky. Let's see how many pages she is. This is still part of the story. Is this going all the way to the end? Yeah, it literally goes to the last page. And it is 690. So I guess we're looking for a book with 96 pages. Luckily, I do have a lot of books that are very small. I have my like Dover thrift editions, I have other poetry collections, I have plays. Let me see what I can find that is close to 96, if not exactly 96 pages. Okay, that was actually a lot easier than expected. This was like the third book I picked up, but this is Othello by Shakespeare, and it is in fact a Dover thrift edition, and it has 91 pages, so only 5 off from what we were looking for. I think that is perfectly acceptable. To move on, we have to now find a book with a similar color scheme. Ooh, okay. This does have a very nice color scheme. It's mostly brown and yellow with some like oranges, very like autumnal vibes to me. That's what those colors feel like, which immediately springing to mind is a book that feels autumnal to me, even though it doesn't really take place in the autumn, but let me go and grab that. Okay, so this is the color scheme we're going for, and what I have picked is an Enchantment of Ravens, which, looking at them next to each other now, they're not quite the same, but I feel like they have similar vibes. This is a more muted version of this color palette, I think. These are very vibrant colors, but here we do have like the yellow because she's got blonde hair, it's got lots of brown and orange feel to it. Is it exactly the same color scheme? No, but I think it's close enough, so we're gonna go with it. This is one of my favorite books of all time, so I'm glad I got it on here to kind of talk about it. Now we have to find a book that was published in the same year as An Enchantment of Ravens. So, when did you come out? 2017. Okay. Immediately, my brain is like, go to the Rick Riordan shelf because he publishes 1 or 2 books every single year. So I just gotta figure out what was published in 2017, and I'll be back with that book. So, our beloved author, Rick Riordan, did in fact publish 2 books in 2017. He published the second Trials of Apollo book, and he also published the third Magnus Chase book. There's no reason why I picked this one over that, I just grabbed it. So, this is the Ship of the Dead. Like I said, it's the third and final book in the Magnus Chase series. I think it might be time for a reread of this. I did just finish rereading um, Percy Jackson and the Heroes of Olympus books because I wanted to read the newer Percy books that have been published in the past couple of years. So maybe once I read all of those, I'll reread this and also the Kane Chronicles. Who knows? That is neither here nor there. We have to move on to the next question. So the next question is to count the number of letters in the first word and then find a book with that number of letters or words in the title. I added the or words part because what if it's like Anne and it's only 2 letters and then I have to find a book with only 2 letters in the title? That seems very hard. So it might be like the number of words in the title. So let's open this bad boy up. Go past all these beginning pages. Okay, so chapter 1 is called Percy Jackson Does His Level Best to Kill Me, which is hilarious. But the first word is try, because the first sentence is, try it again, Percy told me, this time with less dying. That's so funny. Try is 3. Okay, I'm glad I added the or words option, because a book with only 3 letters in the title, that'd be hard to do. But 3 words in the title I can very easily do, so let me go find something. Alright, so here we are. I have picked What Doesn't Break. The 3 words. Technically, there are like more words in the title if you count the like Critical Role, Bells, Hells. I don't care. What doesn't break is 3 words, so it fits. And I wanted to shout this book out because it is a recent release. It's the latest book from the Critical Role universe. I hosted an entire readathon inspired by it. It was a fun time. So, we have now come to the last question, and we have to find a book whose title or author name starts with the last letter of the previous book's title. So, this is what doesn't break. I have to find a book or author that starts with a K. Immediately something is coming to mind because it's a book that I just got for Christmas and I'm so excited. Oh, this is fantastic. It's not one of the books that's on my official January TBR, which I am excited to get to those. And I was hoping to pick one of those for this vlog, but this is the next best thing. So let me go and grab this book. Okay, friends, so for a book whose title or author name starts with the last letter of the previous book's title, which was the letter K, as you saw, I'm going with Zodiac Rising by Katie Zhao. I'm so excited. This book came out in, I want to say September, and I put it on my Christmas wish list because it sounded so good, and my grandmother got it for me, so shout out to AG. I cannot wait to read this. I am so excited, first of all. Beautiful cover. I love the color scheme. It's stunning. Yeah, obsessed. This is a book that I don't remember the exact premise of it because it's been a while since I read the blurb of it, but the vibes are dark academia, immortal characters, potentially vampires, but don't quote me on that part. I'm not too sure. A heist, a magic system inspired by the Chinese zodiac, hence Zodiac Rising. All of that sounds so good. Oh, now I'm kind of sad that I can't start this immediately. I am so obsessed with this. I have read from Katie Zhao before. I read What Doesn't Break. No, I said that because that book is right there. I've read How We Fall Apart. That's what it's called, which kind of a similar vibe title, if I'm being honest. Anyway, How We Fall Apart. And that is a contemporary dark academia book, and it's got like a mystery element. It was so good. So I know Katie Zhao can do dark academia well. As we know, dark academia is very near and dear to my heart, but I am so obsessed with her that I don't even just follow her on my writer account where I only follow writers. I also follow Katie Zhao on my personal account because, like, on Instagram, I should specify, because I just want to know what she's up to and I want to read all of her books. Have I read anything other than How We Fall Apart, even though she's got other books out? No, because I'm very bad at following through on my plans, but I want to read this one. It is not super long. I don't want to spoil myself, but it's 389 pages, so just under 400. Not bad, nice, and not, I don't know what word to say, because it's not chunky, but it's also not super thin. It's like a nice happy medium. A nice Goldilocks book, if you will. The back says, long have the descendants of the Zodiac been cursed, their only hope of salvation lost time, until now. The key to breaking their curse lies deep in enemy territory, and the time has come to take it back. I cannot wait. Ugh, but I have to wait until tomorrow! I'm so excited. I think this is going to be a great first book of the year. Yeah, so I will now get back to doing other stuff, I guess, but I'll be thinking about this book all day, and I will see you tomorrow when the time comes to start reading this. I'm so excited. It is now officially 2025, and I just realized you can see my Dark Academia Shadow the Hedgehog computer background. That's a little bit embarrassing, but yes, 2025, which means I get to start reading this bad boy. Ooh, boy, am I excited. Good morning, friends. It is about 9:40 a.m. and I have in fact only been awake for maybe 15 minutes. but I want to tell you a little bit about Zodiac Rising. I read the prologue yesterday, and that's it. And it's only like 3 pages long. But I wanted to show you some really cool stuff. So this book has, if I could flip to it, character art and like a little bio. So it gives the character's name in English, like at the top in English, and then a little quote, and then it has their Chinese name, their house, their supernatural designation, and their role in the heist. So like this is Evangeline Long. Her little quote is, "I'm going to rob them, and then I'm going to kill them." And then her Chinese name is Long Yinwo. I have no idea if I said that correctly. She's from the House of the Dragon. Her supernatural designation is in fact vampire, so I was right, there are vampires. And then she's the mastermind for the heist. But then there's Tristan, who is from the Snake. He's a werewolf, and he's the master of thieving. Nicholas is from the House of the Tiger. He's a fox spirit, and he's the master of disguise. And then Alice, who is from the House of the Boar. She has a question mark for her supernatural designation, so that's interesting. And she's the master of mind reading. I'm very intrigued. But then we have the prologue that kind of like sets up who the like different houses are. So like there's one for each of the 12 Chinese zodiac, and then these are obviously the descendants. The series is called The Descendants of the Zodiac. My computer is making weird noises again. But then this book is split into parts. This is like a beautiful divider page, by the way. I love it. So there are 3 parts, and I will update you at the end of each one. So I am going to get to reading on this. Well, I've got a very busy day, so I don't know if I'm going to get to reading right away, but I will be making time for this today, and I will see you when I read part 1. Hello friends, it is 6:45 and I have an update on Zodiac Rising. I finished part 1! This book, not gonna lie, the beginning was a little bit rough. It was a little bit hard to get into with all the different world building elements. Took me a few chapters to like figure out what was really going on, but like once I got into it, I started really enjoying it. It's not like 10 out of 10 absolutely perfect, spectacular, fantastic, wowing me, but it's really, really good. It's like a step below that. Like I said, the world building, it's a lot of really cool elements. I was just confused at first as to how they all came together. So I don't know if I explained what actually happened in the prologue. If I did, I apologize for rehashing this. If I didn't, the gist of it, there are these monsters, and so this emperor's like, hey, gods, I need help fighting off these monsters, and the gods are like, yeah, okay, we'll help you, and they give him these 12 warriors, and they're represented by the 12 symbols of the Chinese zodiac, so like the ox, and the dragon, and the tiger, and the snake, and all that. And they, each of them have these fountains in the old summer palace in what is now China. It wasn't China at the time of this emperor having issues. And so there's these 12 warriors, and then all of their descendants, hence Descendants of the Zodiac being the name of the series, are like protecting this empire from these monsters. And then there's also Fae, who, like, you know what a Fae is, and shamans, and they are people who can harness spirits to do magic. And these descendants all have different types of magic, but then in 1860, I think, is when they said it happens. There are these wars going on in China, and 5 of the figureheads from the tops of these like symbolic fountains are stolen, And because of that and like the destruction of the empire, the descendants of the Zodiac are cursed. They lose all of their magic, and 11 of the 12 houses are cursed to become these supernatural beings. So some of them become vampires, some of them become werewolves, some of them become fox spirits. And they're all immortal, they become frozen in time, they can't have children anymore. The only exception is the Ox house. They still lose their magic mostly, but they retain their mortality, they can still have children. So then years pass. This takes place in New York at this school where it kind of gives me Vampire Academy vibes, where the people there like train in like all these different ways in order to go on capital A assignments to like protect the world, basically. And our main characters are going on a heist because some stuff happens and there are new leads on where these figureheads are. So we have Evangeline, who is a vampire. She is from the House of Dragon, and she's the one who kind of like puts this team together. We have Tristan, who is her ex-boyfriend, and he's a werewolf from the house... What house are you from? Snake. And he's like real good at stealing stuff. And then we have Nicholas, I showed you all this stuff, who's from the House Tiger. He's a fox spirit and he's in charge of like disguises and stuff. He is Evangeline's best friend, and him and Tristan have like the biggest beef in the history of the world, and we like have a hint of what that beef is at this point in time, but we don't really know the like whole situation. And then we have Alice, who is oh, I lied. I think I said ox is the one that has humans. It's not, it's the boar that can like still reproduce and they're still mortals. So Alice is from the House of Boar, and she can read minds, so that's her role in the heist. And she is trying to find out more about her father because she didn't even know who he was until she came to this school. She like just lived with her mom, and her mom is like, I'm not telling you anything about him, it's better that you don't know. So all this stuff going on, it's so good. I have a feeling there's going to be some betrayals, some trickery afoot, because otherwise it wouldn't make for a very entertaining plot if they just went through this heist and they got the stuff that they wanted like easily and then broke their curses and everything. Because that's the whole thing, is that they want to restore these figureheads to break the curses and get their regular magic back. So at the time of the end of part 1, they have just arrived at this location because before they can do the actual heist, they have to break this one spy dude out of jail because he has the information that they need to actually do the heist. So they have arrived at the jail that they have to break him out of. So we get a jailbreak and a heist. I was not expecting that, and that's pretty dang exciting. So I will update you once again when I reach the end of part 2, which is... Part 1 ended exactly on page 150. Part 2 ends... Come on page 278. So, like, 130 pages? I might be able to do that tonight. I don't know. But I am going to... Oh, apparently I'm gonna hiccup. I'm going to go shower and chill for a while, probably get some more writing done because I've barely done any writing, but I will definitely be picking this back up to do more reading tonight because it's real good, and there's nothing I enjoy more than getting into bed after the sun has set, getting all cozy, and just reading for a while. So I will see you when I have an update on this. Hello friends, it is just past 6 p.m. and I've got an update on Zodiac Rising. As you can see, I've finished part 2. I also have 2 bookmarks in place because I have a complaint to be made and I wanted to be sure to give you direct quotes. So I am now 278 pages in and I'm really enjoying this book. Complaint aside, we'll get there. It's so fun and action-packed, and the characters, they're so well done, especially the dynamics between them and like the different relationships. It's so well done. I really love every single character and it's just amazing. And that bad guy, the major antagonist, he's also really fun. He's like a little bit evil for the sake of evil, but just enough to be fun and not enough to be like, okay, but what's his deal? Like, he has a deal, but he's also just like the kind of character you love to hate, so I'm having a great time. My complaint, so this second section was the jailbreak portion, and basically the crew has to break this guy out of jail because he is the only person that they know and trust enough to help them break into the place where they have to do the heist. So this guy, Evangeline's brother, knew, and also Tristan knew. That's important. That is established in part 1 when Evangeline is recruiting Tristan for this job. She's like, hey, I know you have dealings with this guy that we're trying to break out of jail. I need your help to convince him to actually go along with it and help us. And he's like, yeah, I have a favor that I can call in with him and that'll convince him to help us. And so when they get there and they find this guy in the jail cell, Tristan comes up and he says, do you remember me? And then the guy is like, of course I remember you, Tristan Shay, although I must admit I wasn't expecting you to visit me here, though it's kind of you, of course. And then, like, that's on page 200. And then a couple pages later, they're talking, and he's like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like, sure, it sucks being in jail, but I could get killed on this mission. And then, Tristan is like, remember when I covered your ass that time? The Jingwei chased you through the Imperial Gardens, and you swore you'd repay your debt to me one day? And then the guy is like, oh, you have quite the memory. And he's like, he knows what's going on. But then, literally not that much further ahead, on page 227, we were in Tristan's POV in that chapter. They're all third person, but they're third person limited, which, like, props to Katie Zhao. I could never. That was Tristan's POV. Now we're in the POV of the guy that they broke out of jail. And he's like, what's the plan now? Evangeline interrupted the unfriendly-looking, dark-haired werewolf boy. What was his name again? Todd? Timothy? You know Tristan. Like, that was the whole reason Tristan was along. I mean, and his thieving skills. He's a really good pickpocket. But, like, that was 50% of the reason why Tristan came along is because he knew this guy that they were going to break out of jail. And now, all of a sudden, there's been this switch-up, and from this point on, he acts like he doesn't know Tristan. And, like, Tristan acts like they don't know each other. Like, it's such a huge continuity error. I'm like, what? How did no one catch that? Unless I'm somehow misreading things, but I don't think I am. Like, that genuinely just feels like a major continuity error that somehow slipped through. So, that's annoying. I didn't think this was going to be a 10 out of 10. Like, there was still a chance of it, but in my head, it's been like a 9 out of 10 this whole time. This error has solidified that it won't be a full 10 out of 10. I mean, I'm still greatly enjoying this. As I've said, I'm having a great time with the characters and the action and everything. It's still super fun, but I can't get past that, you guys. But now, I'm going to take a break from reading. I'm going to go and get some dinner and then get back to this book later on, because I want to see how it all plays out. Like, we've had the recruitment section, we've had the jailbreak section, we're into the heist, baby! I'm so excited! I love a good heist story! So, here's hoping that Act 3 finishes strong, because I really have been enjoying 95% of this book so far, so I really want to continue to enjoy that. So, I will see you when I finished this book, you guys. morning, friends. It is Friday, January 3rd, and I have finished Zodiac Rising. Wow, what a great first book of the year. I stayed up late last night reading a good chunk of this, like most of part 3 I read last night. I was reading until my eyes were literally closing against my will, so I'm like, okay, let me put this down, and then I read literally only 20 pages were left this morning, and so I have finished, and I have many thoughts for you. So part 3 was the heist, and I think it was the best part yet. Like, it was so good. I loved it so much, so I'm glad that it got better and better with each part. When we talk about overall things, let's start with the things I didn't like, and then move into all of the amazing things that I absolutely loved. So, as I've mentioned, there is that one glaring continuity error that will bug me literally for the rest of my life. And aside from that, there are just like a couple of little nitpicky details with the world building that I don't quite understand. Like, these people were mortal with magic, and then when this event happened, they became these immortal supernatural creatures that don't have the original magic they had, but they do have different magic. And like, it's a little bit confusing because then you have the Boar house, the House of Boar, who are still mortal, and there are people like Alice who reads minds who can still use magic, and people are like that just feels confusing to me unless I'm like misreading that and Alice is the only one who can have magic, but I thought it mentioned that like some of the other ones did. I don't know. That was a little bit confusing. There's also a statement early on about how uh, Evangeline and Tristan had kept their relationship a secret because like relationships between descendants isn't allowed because it might get to like inbreeding at some point, but as supernatural creatures, they can't have children. Like, a really big part of this is the fact that the House of Boar is the only house that can have children. So, like, why would that rule still be in effect 150 years later when they're all these immortal supernatural creatures who can't have kids? That was a little bit weird, but also I love a secret relationship, so I'm allowing that to fly. Um, so yeah, just little tiny nitpicky things that weren't my favorite. So for those reasons, I can't give this a full 10 out of 10, but I've come to the conclusion that it's going to be a 9 out of 10. Technically, my descriptor for 9 out of 10 is this book was technically flawless but didn't have that spark. This is kind of the opposite. There were flaws, there are things that I don't like about this book, but it definitely had that spark for me, so it's fine. 9 out of 10. The things that I loved about this, the plot. I thought it was so well constructed. You know, you have the whole setup and gathering the team, and then you have this jailbreak, and then you have this heist, and like that setup works really well, and even like the different scenes and how they're woven together is so well done. The characters, that's where this shines the most. I adore every single character that we've met in this book, even the ones that we're supposed to hate. Like, I hate them because I'm supposed to hate them, and it's so fun to hate them, you know? It was just amazing. The characters are so good, especially Evangeline, Tristan, and Nicholas, the three of them, and like the dynamic between each of the pairs and then the three of them as a whole is just delicious. So good. I'm obsessed, and I already want book 2 in my hands so I can see where that goes. Honestly, if they ended up in a throuple, I wouldn't be mad. I mean, Tristan has 2 hands, one for Evangeline and one for Nicholas. Just saying. Alice is also great too. I really like how she has this outsider perspective that's kind of thrown in to like shake up things between the three of them. So yeah, characters, if you're a character-based reader, I mean also if you're a plot-based reader, because like I said, the plot is really good, but like the characters are done fantastically well in this book. It's literally just little bits of world building that I'm like, not my thing. So it's so good. We do have a title for book 2, but no release date. I mean, this just came out a couple months ago, so we're probably not getting book 2 for like another year at least. But I believe the title for book 2 is Heirs of Power, which let me just say, that's the most generic title I've ever heard in my life. I don't like it. It's like, what does that even mean? I feel like so many fantasy books nowadays have the most generic titles just to like get buzzwords in there, like blood and glass and shadow. Like, cool it. We can have more descriptive titles. It will be okay. But yeah, I don't think we're getting that anytime soon, and I'm okay with that because I understand that writing books takes time, especially if you want them to be good. So, I will be patiently waiting for book 2. I don't know how long the series is going to be. It might just be a duology, but I'm intrigued about what's going to happen in book 2 because there are definitely things that are set up for book 2, like different characters coming into play and like little moments where you're like, ooh, I know we're not going to get a conclusion for that in this book, but we're definitely going to follow it in book 2. So, very exciting stuff. I do hope that when book 2 happens, we get more of the character art, which I will show you again just because it's so beautiful. Like, oh, it's so stunning. So, there are characters like Cecile and Lay. Like, I just really hope we get more of these character arts for characters that we didn't get in this book because there are a lot. Like those aren't the only 4 POV characters we have. We do see scenes from other characters' perspectives, albeit in the third person. So hopefully we get more of that art because it's just really beautiful and I love that. You don't get that in a lot of books, so it's just a fun little detail. But yeah, I'm gonna stop rambling. This book was really good. Highly, highly, highly recommend if you like contemporary fantasy, if you like supernatural creatures, if you like Asian inspired mythos and magic. There's also other things like fairies are a thing in here, so it's not like strictly Chinese mythology. If you like heists and jailbreaks, if you like character relationships being at the core of the story, like this is your book. Definitely check it out. So, I have plenty of books from Katie Zhao that I have not read, sadly, but also excitingly, because that means I get to read more of her stuff for the first time. So, I'm definitely going to be picking up more of her books. But that was Zodiac Rising, my first book of the year, and what a hit it was! I'm very glad that the scavenger hunt brought me to this. I'm happy, guys. I'm so happy. I am not ready to think about what my next book is going to be. I thought about it for a second, being like, I think this is going to be it, but honestly, I need time to ruminate with Zodiac Rising for a little bit before I can even think about reading anything else. So, we've now come to the end of this vlog. If you've enjoyed it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel for more content, and that way I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone.